Hey everyone. Yeah, thought I'd finally do what I said I was going to do, and that is a review of Sonic Universe 74. I don't physically have it on me, but I did download it through Comixology. So as you can see there. And overall, I could kind of see where fans were coming from when they said it kind of fell down, kind of fell flat towards the end. But I thought it was a decent conclusion. I thought it was. Basically, we start off where we left off, and that is Sally confronting Phage and trying to protect Nicole. And of course, you have Nicole actually helping out by firing one of her weapons, her gauntlet or whatever it is, her spear weapon or whatever it is, at Phage, damaging her almost at her core. And this allows Sally and her to escape. Now, of course, Sally first wants them to split up. Sally at first wants Nicole to get out of the system, and then she'll find a way out if she succeeds. And then she tells. Then after Nicole does what she does, then she tells Nicole, "Okay, if we split up, we can get out either through the digit. I'll get out." Basically, she tells Nicole, "Hey, okay, now that you've done that, let's split up. You get out the way you came in. I'll get out the way I came in. And then when we get out, we can shut down the system and possibly shut Phage down with it." Now, of course, Nicole doesn't take too kindly to that. Doesn't do that. Instead, she grabs Sally and runs, or flies, whatever you want to call it, like heck, out, away from Phage, basically causing Phage to follow them, or at least follow them. But Nicole's going at such a speed that she's trying to get them into a decent hiding place that'll buy them some time. Now, at the same time, you have Big and Tails showing up at the Lake of Rings to get. You have them showing up at the Lake of, not the Lake of Rings, but at the lake where the red rings popping up from, to get the emerald that's down there. And as soon as Tails shows up goes into the lake to get the emerald, that's when the phage-controlled badniks start attacking. And luckily not Fish, but Big, luckily Big is able to use his fishing skills to drop his line into the lake and fish out the emerald. Fish out the emerald right into their hands. Basically, he's able to cast his line in there, and connect with the emerald and pull it out. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of an itch there. Or twitch, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, they're able to fish out the emerald, but their means of escaping, their transportation is being looks like it's about to get torn apart by the Dark Gaia monsters and the phage-controlled badniks. Now, at the same time, Nicole is able to get her and Sally to a temporary safe spot. And Sally's like, at first, wait. And Sally, of course they have a bit of a tiff, if you will, a bit of an argument, where Sally's like, "Nicole, I told you to escape, not run. What were you thinking?" And Nicole also at the same time points out to Sally, "Look, you almost did it again. You were acting just like you did before, recklessly." And of course, again, like I said, Sally's pointing out, "Well, I told you to escape. The plan was for us to split up and escape and everything." And Nicole points out, "Well, don't you think I tried that? Don't you think I tried to escape? Phage won't let me out of here, no matter what." And then, Nicole kind of, just like sits back against the wall with Sally, and it's like, but that would be the more logical explanation, not the real one. And then she explains the real answer, that she couldn't just leave Sally behind to get hurt, and that what she did, she too acted, and Sally finishes off the sentence by saying, finishes off Nicole's sentence by saying recklessly. And Nicole's like, yeah, you could kind of interpret it to that. And and of course Sally points out, look, we'll find a way out of this. We always do. And she basically points out that that not only will they find a way out of this, they always do, but she also points out that facing phage or fighting phage or her minions head on is out of the question. It's an option that they cannot have. They don't have. They can't fight phage head on like they would normally do with any badnik or egg boss. And that she only wishes that she could do what Nicole has done, and that's fly. Fly, so they could at least have some kind of advantage or maybe some kind of chance. And Nicole points out, Sally, this is the digital world. This is the digitizer, the digital world. Here, basically, it can interpretate. Let me see what she says. Just want to make sure I get the wording right here. Just want to make sure I get the wording right. Alright, she basically tells Sally that the digitizer interprets the system in a way that your mind can understand. And here you could fly. So basically she points out to Sally, look, here in the digital world, with this digitizer and all that, in the system, whatever you think of becomes reality. Whatever you want to do or be becomes reality. And that the only reason Sally can't fly, even though she could in this realm, is because she doesn't believe she can do so. And that is a psychological block. And Sally's like, yeah, well, as great as that sounds and everything, we don't have enough time to retrain my brain to do so. But she does come up with a plan. A plan that involves a ring that she saw Tails working on in the doctor's lab earlier. She saw Tails, I guess, messing around or playing with something involving the rings and everything in the doctor's lab. So she uses that. She asks Nicole, "Can you recreate that here in the digital world, and we could use that, with the plan that I have." And she also starts to, I guess, with Nicole's influence, kind of starts to reimagine her ring blades now as a sword and a shield. So instead of just being ring blades like we've always seen, they're now a sword and a shield. She basically is reimagining them to be like that. Now, basically what happens with the plan is it's more along the lines an attempt to trap Nicole in the digital world and keep her out of the doctor's system. So basically, Sally lures phage after phage is calling them every name. Well, not every bad name, but things like wrenches, little wenches, brats. I think that's what she calls them. Wenches, brats. Hold on, let me. Oh yeah, wenches, brats, scoundrels, and Sally interrupts, telling her, actually, it's princess. And as Sally's luring phage away into the digital world, she points out to phage, "Hey, you missed your chance to take down the doctor's systems, and I'm not going to let you do that to me." And then Sally, she's sweating some beads and all that, if you will. Basically, in her thoughts says, basically she says, if this is, basically Sally's like, this is not the real. Basically, Sally's trying to point out to herself what Nicole told her, and that is, this is not the real world. And if it's not real, why can't she be as fast as Sonic can be? She points that out, and she kind of starts to call her brain stupid ovological brain. Yeah, Sally calls her own brain, her own thought process at times, stupid and ovological. So for anybody that kind of thinks, Sally doesn't kind of get down on herself about things, yeah, I think you should read this story, or at least this issue. But basically, Sally is saying to herself, man, she's trying to interpret what Nicole told her, that this is the digital world, and that here anything's possible, so she should be as fast as Sonic. And I guess she's somehow able to make that happen almost at the last minute as she enters into the digital world. Of course, Phage does follow in and points out, hey, you never had a chance against me in the doctor's system. What makes you think you're going to beat me here? And Sally points out to her, oh, but basically Phage is like, what chance do you think you have against me here in the digital world? And Sally's like, oh, I'm not here to fight. She's just leaning back, saying, kind of, she has a hand on her shoulder, her hand on the sword and everything like this, kind of in a leaning pose, and like, oh, I'm not here to really fight you. I'm just here to lure you in. I'm just a distraction. I'm the decoy, if you will. And she calls on Nicole, and Nicole uses the ring chain, which is, I guess, a homage to Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. And Nicole is able to pull Sally out of the digital realm, and she starts to, and Sally just points out that all they're doing is, kicking Phage out of the doctor's system, even if they can't beat her, or fight her head on, they're going to just kick her out of the system. So Nicole starts to shut it, just like she did in the first issue on the minions, on Phage's minions. She starts to shut the door, starts to create a sort of a firewall on Phage, but she doesn't have the strength, because Phage just starts to push it right back open, like basically she starts to push it right back open, and points out that Nicole can't beat her. They can't beat her. She points out to Nicole, you can't beat me. You're outdated. I'm faster. I'm stronger. I'm more powerful. And that everything, all the emerald, the red rings, are all going to belong to me, and thus belong to the doctor, Dr. Eggman, and stuff like that. And I think she even points out in this as well, the doctor, something like, I think the doctor will not forgive her for her past mistakes or something. I'm trying to check here. She basically says things like, the Chaos Emerald belongs to her alone. Do you think she cares about the physical world? And that if she doesn't do something worthy to bring back she says if she doesn't have something worthy to bring back, that Dr. Eggman will never forgive her for her past mistakes. And that she basically tells him to stop interfering. But, of course, this leads to, of course, Dr. LED is seeing this at the same time, and we're also getting sort of a real-time perspective of what's going on over at the lake with Tails and Big fighting the Gaia monsters and the Badniks. And as the Doctor's seeing this, and he's seeing the other Badniks finally breaking in to his lab, basically does what a lot of some fans have felt is a lame-ass way to a lame-ass climax, if you will, to the story, and basically a Deus Ex Machina climax to the story. He takes the red ring, places it on Nicole's handheld, which looked like it already had a red ring, but maybe that was just a drawing mistake because it was actually a regular ring or something like that. He takes the regular ring out, places the red ring in, and thus we get overclocked Nicole. In other words, Nicole's super form. We get Nicole's super form. And this, of course, causes everything to start being cleansed out, cleaned. It starts to cure everything. Phage is not happy about this. She's saying that the power of the red star ring belongs to her. It's supposed to be hers. And Nicole's like, no, it's not supposed to be yours. And that you are not welcome here. And now get out. And she basically shuts her out with an iron like a wall or something like that. She creates some kind of iron firewall to keep phage out. And this, of course, restores all the badniks back under control to Dr. LED. Sally is happy. She tells Nicole, I knew you could do it. That was amazing. I knew you could do it. And Nicole points out, yeah, I only shut her out. And Nicole points out, I only shut her out of the system. She's still out there, but she's weakened, and I don't think she'll be coming around here anytime soon. Basically, she won't be back in the system at any time. And Sally, of course, embraces her friend, telling her, hey, don't sell yourself short, you saved us all. And Nicole has to remind her, yeah, but after you saved me. And then we kind of get this scene here, this little panel here, where Nicole is looking at her super form with, I guess, some kind of curiosity, which kind of interpretates that maybe there might be more to that in time. So long story short, they will basically the next day, I think that's what it said. Yeah, it says the next day. So basically the following day, they've gotten word from Rhoda that they got to meet up with him in Alprost, which is going to be in 272, the main comic. And we kind of have one final scene between the Doctor and Sally. The Doctor admits that he didn't even know there was a Chaos Emerald there, and that kind of made him wonder why the red rings were forming and stuff. And so he gives one to them to take. Well, not take, but yeah, they do. He gives. So basically, they keep the one I think they had. That he gave them, and that he's sure they're going to put it to good use. He tells Sally to say hello to her father for her, and that he can't really tell her not to do anything risky, and all he could do is wish them luck in their travels. And he does tell her, and he does try to apologize for what he said the night before, but of course Sally's like, look, don't worry about it. We weren't in our right minds because of the guy at Influence. But he does point out to her, the Doctor points out, that Sally was correct about one thing, and that he hasn't been fair to Nicole. He hasn't been fair to Nicole since she's been there, and Sally's like, that's true, but that's something you should be telling Nicole. And now Sally does point out that, true, Nicole may never be able to replace your daughter Nikki, or replace Nikki in your heart, art and everything. And of course the Doctor mentions that he wishes Sally and Nikki could have met each other, and that the Grand Archive Project was originally commissioned by her father for government use, but that it was his daughter Nikki that said make it a public database for everybody to use. And that he basically apologized to Sally, and says that with Nicole he still